This episode goes out to Ellen Leah, who left us a review on iTunes. You compared us to Robin Hobb, and frankly, we don't know what to do with that.
Hi there, Megan Robinson here. Welcome to the 33rd special bonus episode of the Nightblade Epic Podcast, Season 2. It's good to be back. I've missed you all. Life's changed quite a lot, and I'm not able to record the podcast intros every week. But I really wanted to do it for the special bonus episode. And it's really an awesome episode to return for. I'll tell you all about it in just 1 second. But first, we just wanted to remind you of one thing. Garrett is currently writing the next book of Underrealm right now on his Patreon at patreon.com/GarrettB.Robinson. He started this project in May, and it's been going really great. He already finished one book, Hellskin, and he's hard at work on the next one. Seeing all the extra support coming in from Patreon has really been amazing. It helps our family out a lot, and it makes it possible for us to keep producing this podcast. So, if you want to help us out, go to patreon.com/GarrettB.Robinson. For just $1 a month, you can read each part of the next Underrealm book as it comes out every week on Friday. Once again, that's patreon.com/GarrettB.Robinson. Okay, now it's time for today's episode. But what is today's episode? Well, it's a special bonus from Garrett's Patreon. When Garrett reached 75 Patreon supporters, he held a special reward event. Patrons were surveyed on which Underrealm characters they wanted to hear advice from, and then they submitted questions for the characters to answer. The 3 characters who were chosen are super awesome. First is Annalyn, the High King of all the 9 kingdoms of Underrealm. Second is Alburn of the family Telfer, a ranger from a far kingdom and a character you're going to meet in the 3rd season of the podcast. And the 3rd and final character who will be answering questions today is Zane of the family Foradar. That's right, Zane is here to answer the questions of Garrett's supporters on Patreon. So, if you've ever wanted a Dear Abby-style advice column from Underrealm's grumpiest spellcaster, that's exactly what you're getting today. One quick final note. Today's episode will be divided into 2 parts. The first section is spoiler-free, or at the most contains very minor spoilers. Then at some point, Garrett will tell you that there are spoilers incoming. Thank you so much for being here. We can't wait to bring you Season 3 of the podcast, which will start on August 17th, 2020. Okay, now it's time for today's episode. Enjoy this very special Underrealm Q&A, everyone. Don't forget to support Garrett on Patreon, and enjoy!
Hello and welcome to the show. If the 3 of you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves? Hello there. I am Alburn of the family Telfer, and I'm happy to dispense what advice I have that may be useful to you all.
I am Annalyn of the family Lemstad, and I am the currently ruling High King of the 9 kingdoms of Underrealm. I only hope that what I have learned in my time on the throne may be helpful. Can we get this started? Zane? Oh, all right. I am Zane of the family Foradar, and I am here to answer your questions.
That was succinct.
Did you expect a speech?
DH asks, what's the most inappropriate use of magic that you've seen or heard about? You mean aside from Zane in general?
That is hardly amusing. I disagree.
EL asks, I have people in my life who don't approve of parts of who I am. More specifically, they don't approve of my current relationship. How do I deal with them?
I suppose execution is out of the question?
Your Majesty.
I am mostly joking, but honestly it is hard to advise in situations such as these. You know your own family better than anyone would. My parents were generally kind and supportive of me. but when they found fault with some I have been associated with in the past, I resented them. It turned out that those partners were in fact bad people, and my parents could see it even when I could not. Yet this is not always the case, of course. Alban, I believe you can speak to the other side of things.
Yes, Your Majesty, I can. My mother was rather the opposite of Ennelin's parents. She sought always to control me and bend me to her will. When my sister or I made friends or had lovers my mother disapproved of, she would do everything in her power to separate us and make life horrible for the objects of our affection. There was never any reasoning with her on any topic, much less the prospect of a relationship with someone she deemed unworthy. In the end, I fled my home, and my life was markedly better for it. But Annalyn and I are two extremes, of course, and most people walk some middle ground. You might be one of them. Only you would know that. Zane, what do you think? Has anyone you have known tried to unduly influence you in love?
I think we had best leave that topic well enough alone, Alban.
M asks, Dear Zane, if given the choice, would you fight 1 horse-sized Lauren or 10 duck-sized Laurens?
I have tangled with Lauren enough to know that in either case I would lose, and so the manner of my defeat seems immaterial.
K asks, Your Most Royal Highness, do you have any dating advice?
Dating advice? Oh dear. I am afraid that romance is even harder to come by than friendship when one is in my position. I did truly love Amon's mother, but I confess we would never have met or courted had our parents not brought us together for the political alliance they hoped to forge, and in which they succeeded. But Sir Sin passed away, and since then I have not had much chance to pursue love. What advice I can give is the same that most would give to anyone. Be very clear in what you desire from the other person. For the most part, my relationships of recent years have been with lovers. There, things are clear-cut. Each of us knows exactly what to expect from the other as well as what to give. It is the same for relationships not built on the back of coin. But in that case, you must find out for yourself both what is desired and what is required. Use your words is what I suppose it boils down to, though that sounds like a parent instructing a child on etiquette.
A.G. asks, Dear Mr. Telfer, have you found any new underclothes yet? What? Well, of course, I was never out of them for myself, you understand. It was a joke. How did you hear that story?
What are you talking about? Quiet, Zane, I want to hear this.
Listen, it was a joke. A customer was standing in my bowyery, and I told him I hoped he had come to buy a bow, because I had run out of underclothes.
Why under the sky would you say that? Be silent, Zane.
It was a joke. I meant underclothes to sell, not for myself to wear.
You mean some strange man came into your bowyery, and you simply up and—
Listen, it was quite funny. Jordell certainly seemed— the customer certainly laughed.
Dark below take me. And there it is.
Wait.
I should have known. I strongly suspected.
You two are—
Jordell walks into your bowyery, and the first thing you tell him is that you are not wearing underclothes.
That is not what I said.
But you see, it is, after a fashion.
Sky above, you are both twisting my own words until I cannot recognize them. Next question.
All right. But first, do you require a glass of water?
What?
I only ask because from the peculiar shade of red you have turned, I wondered if you were choking.
Next question.
A.G. asks, Mr. Foradar, would you say you've ever had any chill? Of course I have. Interestingly, non-wizards rarely know this. It is quite a bit harder to cool things down than it is to heat them. Of course, all elementalism is based on energy, but paradoxically, it requires more energy from a wizard to reduce the energy in a target than it does to increase the...
Zane, I believe they meant to ask if you have ever, at any time, been able to relax, to chill, as it were.
Why would I do that?
And I believe that is the best answer we could hope for.
I am disappointed you interrupted him, Albin. I wanted to see how long he would keep going.
We are about to enter spoiler territory. The following questions contain spoilers for some or all of the books of Underrealm. If you don't want any of the story to be spoiled for you, read no further. M asks, Dear Zane, in your time of teaching and advising, what age range do you prefer to deal with and why?
If we are speaking purely of preference, I will admit that, personally, I prefer advising adults to teaching children, preferably even adults older than myself, and wiser, if such can be found. I have never been the most patient man. It requires a great deal of effort to stop myself from berating a pupil when they do not grasp a concept or a technique quickly enough. And children are... well, they are often convinced of their own wisdom and correctness, even when neither are very much in evidence. However, I also recognize that this is, to some degree, a personal failing of my own. I have learned much of patience from watching those who exhibit it readily, and I am at least wise enough to observe that it is the best way to foster greater understanding in anyone, especially the young. Therefore, while personally I prefer my duties as advisor to Her Majesty, I recognize that I serve a greater purpose through my administration at the Academy, and through whatever wisdom I am able to impart upon my students thereby. Preference is all well and fine, but I am trying to learn to place the greater good above any personal desires.
LB asks, do you guys actually like Lauren, or are you just being polite? Of course I like Lauren. That girl has a good head on her shoulders, when she does not forget it at home. I will admit we have clashed in the past, and when we are at odds, she is headstrong enough to give even Mag a run for her money. But a stubborn nature has never stopped me from being friends with Mag, and it is no different with Lauren. In fact, the only negative feeling I have towards Lauren is worry. She is a dear soul and wise in many ways of the world, but ignorant of so many others. I hope we are able to reunite soon. If we are, one aim of mine is to ensure she stays long enough to grow into the incredible woman I'm confident she will one day be.
I am afraid my position does not lend itself to liking people unreservedly, with a whole heart. This is an unfortunate side effect of leadership, and especially of rule. To grow too fond of someone too close, this often leads to poor decision-making when those folk are involved in a situation. It is my responsibility, and the very duty I was chosen for, to see to the greater safety and success of all the people of Underrealm. Most of these folk I shall never even see, much less get to know. Yet never must I treat them more poorly than those close to me, the advisors and nobility who I see and work with every day. Therefore I try always to keep those in my life at a distance, thinking of them as just another citizen of Underrealm, like the uncountable number whose faces I shall never look upon, and yet whose lives may be influenced, or even ended, by my decisions. This, however, is merely the philosophy I aspire to. The mind and heart are never entirely slaves to philosophy alone. Of course, I find myself growing fond of many of the best people in my life. And while I work to remain neutral and impartial in my decisions concerning them, neither am I ashamed of my love for them. Few things are more dangerous than a heartless king. And so, though we have, in fact, spent regrettably little time together, yes, I do indeed like Lauren of the family Nelda. I have received many reports of her adventures since she left my company. I worry for her, but I do not find myself any less fond of her. I trust her to find her way through her own current dangers, as well as this war that plagues Underrealm. And if I may aid her on the path I feel is laid out before her in this life, I aim to do so. Yes, I like Lauren. No thanks to my own actions, and despite all the horrors we have witnessed together, or caused, as the case may be. I have few friends. Most of the friends I do have were earned through great trial and tremendous hardship, and in spite of myself. I know my own manner well enough to understand I am a difficult person to grow close to. Lauren never let me cast her aside, no matter how often I tried. She had her own reasons for staying close to me, of course, but that is no matter. She did stay. And as a result, I find her one of the very few true friends I have left in this world.
DH asks, Hi King Enelin, having been betrayed by at least 2 of your recent Academy deans, do you have any advice for hiring employees that aren't going to try and kill and or betray you?
Ah, yes, well, I am afraid that this, like the lack of romance and true friendship, is one of the unfortunate side effects of my position. In truth, I had half considered abolishing the position of dean and the academy itself, what with both of the traitors having come from that exact same place. Your Majesty, I am joking, again. But truly, this is one reason it becomes difficult to grow too friendly with anyone. I must always be vigilant for those who seek to harm me or Amon. And when I find myself growing fond of someone, there must always be a question in the back of my mind, wondering if they are trying to worm their way into my confidence so that they may gain an advantage in betraying me later. I have never denied the privilege that comes with my position, but others sometimes discount its perils.
And finally, DH asks, Zane, what was Amon's joke that has brought you so many laughs over the years?
Ah, that. Well, I had seen only 17 years, and I was newly arrived to the seat to study at the academy. But I had had private tutors at home, and my family is a noble one. And so I found myself entrenched in the High King's court and embroiled in the politics that thrive there, begging your pardon for saying so, Your Majesty. I could hardly blame you for telling the truth. In any case, before I had been there even a month, I encountered the Lord Prince. Now it turns out that he had heard of me already, and he knew something of me. In particular, he knew that I liked a good joke, but I enjoyed a good riddle even more. And so he invited me into a drawing room, pulled out a stolen skin of his mother's finest wine, begging your pardon again, Your Majesty. Sky above, Zane, if you apologize for every transgression you committed while at my court, we will be here for a year. Well, in any case, he poured 2 glasses of wine, and then he asked me, what did the farmer say when he lost his plow? I took it for a riddle, and I worried at it like a dog with a bone. I thought of farmers from legends, whether they be fools or simple peasant boys who grew into great heroes. But I could not remember any that had lost a plow, nor had their plows stolen from them. For every answer I gave, Amon merely laughed and shook his head. We stayed up late into the night. Amon even fetched another skin of wine, and we got quite drunk. Finally, when I was close to nodding off, I gave up. I asked him to tell me the answer. What did the farmer say when he lost his plow? Amon smiled at me and said, Where is my plow? The wine played a part, I am sure, as did the lateness of the hour. But I can tell you honestly that I do not think I have ever laughed so hard in my life. Amon knew that I would take the question seriously, and he used that against me. He knew that I loved riddles, and that I would know the most difficult riddles are often the simplest. And to have been so thoroughly outsmarted by a man even younger than me. Amon was of a high noble station, of course, and well educated, but then so was I. It was such a delight to have him so thoroughly flummox me that I decided immediately that he was my greatest friend on the seat. I said earlier that I have few enough friends, and the ones I do have are usually earned through hardship and great trial. Amon is one of the few exceptions, mayhap the only one. But that is just the sort of man he is. I have never met anyone more able to discern who a person is, find out what they want, and present it to them in a better way than they ever expected. It is one of the many fine qualities that make him such a capable leader, and it is why I have great confidence that he will be an excellent High King if he takes the throne after Her Majesty, as we all hope. As we all hope. I had never heard that story, Zane. Thank you for telling me. It means more to me than I can say.
This has been a production of Legacy Books, written and narrated by Garrett Robinson. The music in this podcast was created by Will Musser. Check out his incredible work at willmusser.com. That's WILLMUSSER.com. No secret letter today. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.